And so, David, you were referring to this just a little bit ago, but the New York Times is new reporting on how the former president has repeatedly complained about Blanche, his lead lawyer in this case. As the Times reports, quote, he has griped that Mr. Blanche, a former federal prosecutor and veteran litigator, has not been following his instructions closely and has been insufficiently aggressive. Mr. Trump wants him to attack witnesses, attack what the former president sees as a hostile jury pool, and attack the judge, Merrick Chung. How do you square this with what you as an attorney, how do you square this with what your client wants versus what your responsibility and role has to be as an attorney?
It's very difficult, right? Because you have an obligation to do what you believe is best for your client, where you have a very high-profile client telling you he wants something different. And this happens quite a bit in these cases. But Trump knew what he was getting when he hired Todd. Todd is a well-known former federal prosecutor. He's not a guy who's going to go in front of the cameras. He's not a guy who's going to wave his fist around. People thought this is what Trump wanted because he would be doing this, Trump. So he wanted a different kind of lawyer to be running his team. And you know, Todd is running all the cases, these 3 different cases. And so he's in a difficult position because he needs to do what he thinks is best for the case and also make the client happy. It's a very, very tough spot he's in.
I mean, Baya, Blanche has to have known who his client is and how his client has acted and continues to act. I'm just wondering, how does the attorney team deal with a client like that? But then also, if Trump does get what he wants, how does the prosecution handle a different style of lawyering?
Well, look, I think this prosecution team has some real experience knowing how Donald Trump directs his lawyers as well. And the prosecution just has to keep its eyes focused on the evidence that it's putting before the jury. I think in this case, and to David's point, you know, look, Donald Trump has been Donald Trump and has not changed one iota. I think one of the reasons that Donald Trump presumably picked his defense team is because he said, these are winners. We know that Donald Trump likes to win. He does have a high degree of confidence in his own ability to decide how that winning happens. And I think, as we all know, if you're going into surgery, you don't want to be the one telling your surgeon how to do the surgeon's job. And this is no different. But just like a surgeon might do if you're having a dispute with a patient, you can say, look, this is why you hired me. This is what I'm here to do. This is my best advice. I'm going to do my job. You know, at some point, Donald Trump will make a decision about whether he wants to keep working with any of the lawyers on his team, but he would be ill-advised not to pay attention to the advice of a very seasoned attorney like his current team.
So, David, I know that, I mean, in South Florida and really, I mean, everywhere, you are well known as being the top of your field, top of your game. I know that actually the former president actually reached out to you at some time. Can you tell us what that was like?
Yeah, so we met and we talked about me coming into the case. Ultimately, I decided not to for all sorts of reasons. You know, Maya's point about surgery is an interesting one. Edward Bennett Williams, the greatest criminal lawyer of the 20th century, used to tell his clients that he was like a surgeon and he would put them to sleep at the beginning of the case and wake them up at the end and let them know that he won. Trump's not asleep, although he is sleeping in the trial apparently, but he's telling his lawyers what he wants. And apparently told them to take on certain things in the opening statement, which I was very surprised that Blanche's opening statement took on so many difficult positions in the case. To me, they should have really gone with a slightly different defense, very similar to the John Edwards defense, which is Trump may have violated the good book, but he didn't violate the legal book. That was John Edwards' successful defense, but Trump is fighting on every single possible thing, and that's what Todd had to open on.
What did you take away from that meeting with Trump?
Well, I take away that he's very involved in the case. I'm not going to speak about, you know, the specifics of it. I can't, but he wants to be involved. He is involved in the defense, and that's okay. Your client should be involved. It's their life. It's difficult to tell them to go to sleep and wake them up at the end of the surgery. It is their life. But at the end of the day, you as the lawyer need to do what's right, or you're going to lose control. You're going to lose the case. You're there for a reason. And if the lawyer doesn't trust you, to do the good thing and the right thing, then it's not a good match.